This is Democracy Watch. Mark, all eyes are on one race in particular that is still being litigated right now, and that is the North Carolina State Supreme Court race with Allison Riggs. So where does that race stand right now, and what does the recount process look like?
Yeah, so we have a recount in North Carolina. The incumbent justice, Allison Riggs, who is, by the way, a former voting rights lawyer, a great lawyer, and now a great justice. She is leading the Republican challenger, Jefferson Griffin, by 625 votes, and that is with everything counted. So that is all in with the final results. Griffin's requested a recount, which is his right. That recount will now take place until November 27th has already started. The counties will do this by running the ballots through the tabulators again, and if that is not enough, then the losing candidate can ask for a hand recount. But this will essentially be what's referred to as a machine recount. But you know, the fact is that she is winning, and when you go in winning, more often than not, you come out winning.
Especially with a margin like that. I mean, we're not talking about a three vote margin in Riggs' favor. We're talking about over 600 votes. Yeah. With that said, I have to ask, because this is the hellscape that we find ourselves in, but are Republicans trying to pull any shenanigans with regard to the recount process?
Yeah, they are. And it's one of the things that is...
Surprise.
Yeah, and it's one of the things that is driving me absolutely crazy, because you would not know it by reading the New York Times, the Washington Post, the LA Times, watching CNN. You know, you wouldn't know any of this unless you happen to be watching your YouTube channel. Because here's the thing. Republicans right now are challenging, wait for it, 60,000 ballots. 60,000. Like, you might think that would be newsworthy, that we had an election, and in North Carolina, the Republican candidate in a statewide election is challenging the votes of 60,000 voters. But no, it's like, you know, it's like no one in the legacy media wants to cover this other than you, and we cover it at Democracy Docket. But it is just crazy. But this is what Republicans are doing. They are targeting these voters, and a lot of them are the categories of voters that we saw targeted before the election. We see them targeting, you know, over voter registration. We see them targeting absentee ballots cast under UACAVA. That's the overseas and military ballots. It's a lot of the same fights, and before the election, you did see many of the legacy media outlets covering it, but it feels like, you know, and we talked about this before the election, that this was one of my concerns, is that the lesson of that the media learned from Donald Trump winning was they don't want to pick a fight, in their view, with right. Republicans over post-election things anymore.
Right. Well, how worried are you that they'll be successful in any of these, you know, nefarious efforts to undermine the accurate results of this election?
Look, I think that they're going to lose. I think that Allison Riggs will get sworn in again as a justice on the state Supreme Court. So I don't think this is going to be successful. But it's going to be a fight. And it's going to be a fight because the Republicans are emboldened. We have seen them emboldened in the Pennsylvania Senate post-election with Dave McCormick and the RNC filing to throw out ballots there. We have seen it in some litigation that has been advanced by the Republican Party since Election Day. You know, Republicans think that they have the wind at their back right now, not just because they think the courts are favorable, but because they think that the accountability mechanisms around them, the media, you know, political commentators, that nobody wants to take them on anymore. And so it's imperative that everyone, whether you're in North Carolina or not in the in the state of North Carolina, that you watch what's going on there and you don't let them get a free pass at trying to disenfranchise these voters. I don't think they're going to succeed. I think that Allison Riggs is going to win, but it is important that each and every one of us pay attention and stand up and not allow the great disenfranchisement war machine that Republicans have built to do their work in North Carolina.
Well, I know to your credit, you have been covering this extensively on Democracy Docket. So for folks who are looking for accurate an accurate news source to convey this kind of information, please sign up for Democracy Docket. I use it on a daily basis. It's an excellent resource. I'll put the link right here on the screen and also in the post description of this video. Mark, what is the state of the North Carolina Supreme Court that this race is so significant?
Yeah, so the court right now is 5-2 Republican. And if she wins, it maintains that 5-2 composition. Now, that's not great, right? Because those 5 are Republicans. And I don't say Republicans as a proxy for conservatives. The Republican legislature in North Carolina made these races partisan. They used to be nonpartisan races, and they made them run in partisan elections. So it is a 5-2 majority. But Allison Riggs winning would, number one, set the stage in a couple of years for Democrats to be in a position to take control of the court again. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, it would also cement a sense that the backsliding on this court has stopped, that it's not getting worse. And so it is a very, very important, both from a practical standpoint for the future, but also sort of it will send a signal that even in a year in which Democrats did not carry the very top of the ticket, but had other success, that we have to keep focusing on these elections for state Supreme Court there.
Well, to that exact point, I mean, yes, the top of the ticket didn't go our way, but actually in North Carolina specifically, Democrats won a raft of statewide elections. So what does that say more broadly, the fact that we did win the gubernatorial race, the lieutenant gubernatorial race, the attorney general race there, and as it stands right now, the state Supreme Court race? What does that kind of signal for the future in a state that otherwise Democrats, I think, for the last decade or so, largely would have written off?
Yeah, so North Carolina is a purple state and getting bluer, right? It was a red state, then it became a reddish purple state. Now it is a purple state, and it is heading bluer. Why? Because Charlotte, a big city, biggest city in the state, is getting very blue. You know, just a few years ago, Charlotte was a banking city that was more Republican than Democratic, and now it's still a large banking city, but has other things going on there and has become much more Democratic. The Research Triangle Park area, Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, lots of universities, but also lots of high-tech workers coming into the state. It has become more Democratic. Parts of the coast in North Carolina, particularly around the Wilmington area, becoming very Democratic. Parts of the mountain community, some of the parts that were even hit by the hurricane around Asheville, has become more Democratic. So it is becoming a more Democratic state. What it's up against, though, is an extreme Republican gerrymander. So you see it at the statewide level, you know, this bluing or purpling of the state, but you still see a very Republican congressional delegation as a result of partisan gerrymandering, and the state legislature is still very, very partisanly gerrymandered, although Democrats did manage to break the supermajority, which means incoming Governor Josh Stein will be able to veto legislation, and Republicans will have to work with him.
Well, to that point then, North Carolina is the only state that backslid to the extent that it did with regard to its congressional map. So is there any hope to see truly fair maps in that state at any point in the future?
Yeah, and I want people to listen to this carefully. It is very likely that the difference in the outcome of who controls the U.S. House of Representatives in 2025 will be North Carolina's Republican gerrymander. Yeah. Right. That is how important it is. It's how close the House also is, but it's how important it was, because it will be the margin difference between Hakeem Jeffries being the speaker or Mike Johnson will be the speaker. That is heartbreaking, but it should also be motivating, because the fight for fair districts is not over. The fight for democracy is not over. The fight for free and fair elections are not over. The cynics want you to give up. The Republicans want you to believe they have it rigged and there's nothing you can do. Donald Trump wants you to think that he is omnipotent and all-powerful and ascendant, and there's no point in resisting. And I'm here to tell you, we are the new opposition, and we are not going to back down. And if we all stand up against this, we will win. We will retake the House in 2026. We have a shot at retaking the Senate, and we will be there to protect democracy.
Well, to that point, no one in Democratic politics has fought harder to make that a reality than you and your team. So again, for those who are looking to support the invaluable work that Marc and his team are doing right now, please sign up for Democracy Docket. I'll put the link right here on the screen and also in the post description of this video. I'm Brian Tyler Cohen.
I'm Marc Elias.
This is Democracy Watch.